Hello, beautiful artisans. Welcome to my TikTok. And I'll tell you what, I feel like I just made the biggest, hugest improvement. I actually have something holding my phone. So when I'm talking to you, it will not fall over like it did the last two times. So I still feel really, really new to getting on here and being live. So now, though, I can see if anyone's making comments. I can read right through the plastic. I don't have to move the phone. So today, first of all, I made a cup of coffee to kind of relax because I didn't really want to rush through this today. And sometimes when I'm talking a lot, I end up needing something to drink. So, and it is getting ready to really storm here in Vermont. That's where I'm at. And it's super windy and it is really dark for like not even 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We have got some dark weather. I mean, we have a storm coming. Whether they say we do or not, we do. So I have had so much fun needle felting eyeballs, Halloween scary eyeballs. So I ended up making a keychain, and you can see the little key charm next to the eyeball. And you know, I did a little research on the eyeballs. See, there it is. And a lot of these eyeballs, what they're doing is they're making them whether they're needle felted or not. They could be crocheted, they could be sewn, you know, however you're doing it. They're using white, like for the eyeball, and then maybe kind of doing little like red lines for the kind of like the blood vessels. And so what I did first is I wanted to I assumed, and maybe I shouldn't, I assumed if you are needle felting that you probably know how to do the ball, how to make the needle felted deco ball. And these balls, many times they're used in home design. They're made larger, smaller, little ribbons around them, and they're put in a bowl. So, and then other times they're used like this. You can make a little image in them. So I'm going to show you these because I just want to show you the eyeballs first. So here's another eyeball. And this one, I kind of made the center really dark and then red around it. And this one I made it a little bit smaller, and I was playing around with kind of like the blood vessels type deal, and then a little design was coming out. And I really, before we even begin all of this, I'm going to talk to you and show you, I'm going to show you some yarn that I got at the thrift shop today. And if any of you know about yarn, you're going to want to be sitting down. I kid you not. For when you see what I got for $2, I'm not talking about volume as much as quality, but wait till you see. So this is another one, and this one I just kind of made it round like that, like a little barrel almost, and thinking that's like the back of the eye socket. And then this one I made just kind of, you know, just almost completely round. This one's round. I was playing around with the shape of these eyeballs because you can have, look, you can have it round and then kind of have it, which I didn't do this, but you could start it round and then kind of have it come thin, like almost ghostly type of tapering, you know what I mean, towards the back. You could do that with the eyeball. Or you can do it like this, like a cylinder, like I did, a little bit of cylinder. I was just kind of playing around with that. And as I was doing this, I was thinking about, well, how am I going to put the key ring in there and really, really make it secure? So I took this home. I mean, I took that whole concept home and I came up with, I think, a really awesome way to do it. Now, okay, so first I want to show you this. This keychain is not an eyeball, as you can see. This one I was showing around a little bit. It has little rivets, and because the wool is curly, 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 and it's like this. This is it. I think I may have shown this on the other video I was doing, but I'm just so blown away with the texture of this. So you kind of get the rivets kind of like that. It's awesome, especially if you want some texture, if you're going to make an eyeball. So, but what I did with this keychain is the way I got the ribbon in there, and I just want to explain the attachments before we even begin. And then I'm going to bring you right along with me as I make an eyeball, a needle felt, another eyeball, and I'm just going to start with this plain white one. But I start here because this is where I begin to put the keychain together. So what I did is, before I was completely done with this eyeball, I took, first I'm going to just explain, I took the elastic. This is a hair tie. You can get like 200-300 of these hair ties, you know, in a hobby store or art supply store or regular hair aisle, right? So what I did is I looped this. Oops. I first looped my hair tie onto the ring. I just loop it onto the ring like that. Now, because needle felting, as you know, it can be cut, it can be sewn, it can be needle felted to make smaller, it can be expanded, you can get it wet, you can make impressions in it because it has a memory. So you can, and what I mean by that is if you're doing like a shibori and you have one flat sheet of needle felted sheet, not the pressed sheets from the store, but this type of wool. You're using this type of wool, you're needle felting it nice and flat, and then let's say you tie little rocks or little pennies or little diamonds or something beneath it, and then you kind of sprinkle it and get it wet. When it dries and you untie your little impressions and take your little rocks out or your pennies or whatever, the wool will hold that memory. I mean, this is incredibly strong fabric. It's even fire and water resistant. Now, it doesn't mean it can't, you know, you don't want to mess around with the fire, but I'm just saying it's fire and water resistant. So what I did here is I sewed the hair tie into the ball. And the way I did it is I wanted to have it come all the way to the bottom, tied a knot on the thread, and I used the lacy. You'll see this a lot in my projects. This is the lacy crochet thread. It is very strong. You can use yarn if you want. But anyway, so I brought it all the way to the bottom, and the knot was right there. And then I put the needle back up through, and I came back up through, and I did that about 4 times. And then when I got up here, then I decided to stay up here, and I did maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 more little stitches. So there's 8 stitches going around this little hair tie, binding it right into the needle felted ball. And then what I did is continue to design the ball. I put what we call splay like just webs, a few webs of the wool, needle felted it around the ball, and then emphasized more wool, needle felting it here to hide the stitches. So you have a beautiful, spooky, yucky eye and a really good keychain. And then I put the little charm and the lanyard on there, and it's got a little stretch to it. So that's not going anywhere. You just want to make sure you have a really good knot, and then when you come up a few times and you put your thread through the ball, you want to kind of go different directions, and I can show you when I'll do one for you. And that way it doesn't find its way necessarily to any surface. It's kind of a little zigzaggy on the inside. So anyway, I hope you like that. And so I'm going to put that right there. And this keychain, this is again needle felted ball, a beautiful, beautiful deco ball. And I'm going to show you the ribbon. And this was gifted to me in one of a scrap box that I got of ribbons. Now look at the size of this ribbon. And so let's just do a little measure there, because that's a good size. Yeah, it's about ½ an inch. This ribbon is a ½ an inch. Now to put a ½ an inch through your needle felted ball, you're like, oh my gosh, how do I do that? You know, do I needle felt around it? It's because guess what? This is not going to just slide in, especially when you have a darning needle with a huge eye and you're threading the ribbon here onto your in your eye, and then you've got this clump right here. That's just not going to go through. So what you want to do is create a venue for it to go through. And so you take the needle, you take your darning needle without your thread, take it without your thread, and then you just start making a put it down in there, make your all the way down, make your passageway for it. And then, and you may have to do that a couple of times, kind of widen it a tiny little bit. The beautiful thing about wool, wool is just, it's perfect. I just love it. The beautiful thing about it is after you've done this, you made it wide enough, and then you put your ribbon back on here. This is a thick ribbon. And you finally make your way, and you will make your way through. You tie a nice knot on there, and then bring it up through, loop it, tie it, get all your little keychains together, and you're set. But no, you're not set. What you want to do at that point is you want to take your needle felting needle, where I just do that. Well, I'll use this one. You want to take your felting needle and you want to finesse. You want to make sure you finesse all of that. You want to close it back up as much as you can. And this needle, and I shouldn't probably be doing this like this, but this needle can go far down, and then you come on this side and you do the same thing. You finesse it closed. So now you have a beautiful, nice little ribbon going through your beautiful deco fall autumn ball and our keychain, ball keychain. And that's how you do. So I wanted to show you those couple of ways. I wanted to explain that to you. Now, I'm really super happy. I don't know, which one do you like the best? I'm just curious if you like. I'm super happy with the eyeball keychain, only because it's a little easier. I mean, this isn't like difficult. Once you get used to it, you'll be able to get that. The only thing is getting centered, and then needle felting it nice and centered, and that can take a little bit. So, hi, how are you? Oh, I love it when someone says hi. Yeah, which one do you like? The eyeball keychain attachment or the decal ball ribbon keychain attachment? So there you go. Let me know about that. I'm curious. And what I'm going to do is, there's my other needle, felting needle I was looking for. I'm going to put this to the side, and I'll put those eyeballs over there. And yeah, you should be able to see this. Okay, very good. I really took some time today to work on this. And I think if I even just put this forward a tiny bit, even better. And I'll sit back a tiny bit. Oh yeah, that's really good. Can you see really well? Okay. Now, before I have two balls here. Before we begin the eyeballs, I have to show you this. This thrift shop find, for those of you who know yarn, take a look at this. Okay, take a look at the price. $2. This is easily a $38 skin of yarn. Or even $56. This is, look, I'm going to tell you, look, you know what this is? First of all, it's pure wool. I'm going to tell you, this is 100% sheep's wool. Someone took this. This is not manufactured. Someone spun this at their home. And I want to get a spinning wheel. I am going to tell you, I cannot sit and spin day after day after day. But a long, long time ago, a family member had let me borrow her spinning wheel. And I learned very quickly, and it was somewhat addictive. No, let me tell you, this is gorgeous. But look at the colors. So this is, it's organic, it's dyed, okay, and it's a chunky look. It goes from thin, thin, thin to thick. $2. I almost dropped when I saw that. But then I thought right away, oh my God, wouldn't this make an awesome, I can't find the beginning of it here, but this would make awesome kind of like, for the scary eye, kind of like popping out a little bit, like the yarn, like this yarn, because it's so well woven, you know, it's twisted beautifully. Oh, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna play around with that, and I really want to get the brighter, like the red, and yeah. So I'm just going to use, I am like if you crochet with this, first of all, you'd have to have a really big hook, and it would be gorgeous, whatever it is, and it would be super, super warm. I mean, because the sheep, they don't get cold when it's 0 degrees. I mean, you know, they can be out there. So this is a little bit, I'm going to keep this right up here. Now I want to show you something else. I got gifted, a friend of mine, an artisan friend of mine, she said, Carmella, I am not going to needle felt anymore. She goes, I've done it, I'm not going to do it. And she gifted me this bag, and it was sealed. I've been using it. But check out this yarn. Whoops. Look at the red, vibrant. So I thought for this eye, we're going to use, you know, and this is the dark color, it's like a brown purple. So I've been using that, and then there's this purple. And yeah, I mean, these are all fall colors, right? I mean, how many of you are getting ready for fall? I know, I mean, it feels like fall here. This summer, this summer actually is the first summer in 30 years that it has felt really close to what I call an old-fashioned Vermont summer. It's been more cool than it has warm, and so enjoyable, really. So I'm going to take just a teeny tiny. You only need very, very little. How many of you out there are needle felters and have your equipment and know a little bit about needle felting? If you are new to needle felting, a tiny little bit will go a long way when you're doing decor. So I'm just going to put that over there because we're actually going to do a little sewing first. And I'm going to put my darker one there. And then I'm just going to put those there for the moment. Hopefully I got the fan on the other side of the room. Okay, so with this, so we took the ring, and here's the hair tie, and you just pick any place really at this point, because you haven't really finished the ball. You haven't finished your eye at all. So you want to make sure, a little bluntness is okay. If it's too blunt, it might not push through as easily as you'd like. So a little bit of bluntness. Oh, I got to put a knot. Put a nice good knot at the end here. If you have to do a couple, because what you're going to do, if you are familiar with sewing, you know how you bring your stitch like up from the back, and you have a couple of layers of fabric, and you pull it through the fabric so it's hiding. That's kind of what we're going to do here. But anyway, I'm just going to pick a place, and I'm using the little metal part of the band. I just think that's a nice marker, a nice way to just kind of work that, sewing that on. So I'm going to consider this the top, even though it's not absolutely critical that you're going from bottom to top. If you're not, don't worry about it. If you're coming from the side a little bit, that's okay. The thing is, where you want to end up is up at your little metal spot. So I'm just going to go down here at the bottom, and I'm coming up. See, there's my needle. You see it? Now I'm coming up. Now, this is the important thing. When you come up here, you just want to kind of tug that, pull it a tiny bit in. Now this little piece kind of hanging out there, you can clip that, because you don't have to clip it, but you clip it, because what we're going to do is completely cover this when we put our splay on there. So anyway, whoops, I'm moving. So here we go. So now what I'm going to do is come around. I'm just coming around and back down. I'm coming around and back down. Now I've got that nice catch, and you see the thread at the bottom, and all I'm doing now is I'm going to kind of go in on a little angle, but again, and the only reason I'm doing that is I'm trying already at the very beginning, I want to make a teeny tiny little maze. I don't want it to be easy for this yarn to just kind of fly up or down or wherever it wants to slide in and out. I don't want that to happen. So I'm pulling this up, and now I'm going to wrap around. I do this 4 times. 4. I come down through, and then, so there's 2, and I find a different little area to come. I'm not pulling super tight because I am needle felting the ball, okay, and I don't want it to go out of shape. So I'm coming back up, and so this is how I'm doing. Now I'm going to come over on the side for this one. And again, you don't have to do exactly how I'm doing it. If you do want to kind of stay just a couple times up and down, would probably be sufficient. But I do it this way because years and years, I'm telling you, I can't even believe this right now. I'm going to say 20 years ago, I was making needle felted vests. I'm sorry, wet felted and needle felted. So I was doing the vests and I was doing some headdresses because I was just mesmerized with the headdresses. And a theatrical person down in almost towards southern Vermont wanted a few of them, like ordered them. And then a couple other people ordered them. So I went through this little time where I was just kind of locally making them and selling them. And the one thing that theatrical lady who knew what she was talking about said to me is, she goes, when you wet felt, even though you've wet felted one piece to another piece and it seems nice and secure and everything hooked, she says, sew it. Just give it a few stitches anyway. Now the reason I'm telling you that is because I could have simply taken this elastic and I could have just needle felted it like that. I could have just put a few patches of needle felt on it. I mean, after all, this is fiber. It hooks. It's strong. It will probably stay. However, the just for reassurance and to make it nice and sustainable, to make it a substantial catch, you know, so it's not going to go anywhere. A couple stitches don't hurt. So now I'm going to kind of just do what I'm calling kind of wraparounds here. And it's okay if the stitch is a long running stitch or a short running stitch. You can see right there, you can see it. That's okay. The other thing you can do is you can make these stitches in different threads and yarns and make it part of your eye. You don't have to hide it. I'm going to show you because I'm just doing all of this before I continue to design the eyeball. So now right here, I just came out to the side and I'm just going to put a little knot, a couple little knots, and this is what I'm going to do. I put the little knot, you see, there's a little, and then I'm just going to pull it under. I want to pull that little knot through, and I'm going to put one more little knot, and then I'm just going to pull that a different direction. And that just confuses the thread, the memory of the thread just enough so it's not going to be working its way out. So now I'm going to clip, and now we're going to begin our needle felting. Okay, I feel good about that. That looks pretty good stitched up. And I'll put my charm and my little hook on after. So I'm going to put this down here. I have it on an angle, really. Now, is all of this going to obscure your work? No, 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 no. It's not. It's not going to obscure it. Because what you're doing at this point, first you want to get my, this is my white, this is some of my white yarn. I'm just going to give this ball another working layer, and I pull it apart in all different directions. And the reason is you want it to hook. You want it to, you don't want it just sitting there. And if it's going in all the same direction, you're not going to get a good needle felting. And you'll know right away if your wool is not splayed well, because you just won't get it hooking in. You'll be like trying to needle felt it and you're like, why isn't that needle felting? And that's the reason. So I just kind of taken that little piece. The other thing now, if you're not familiar with wool from the sheep's farm, this is gorgeous, the wool that I got. And I thought she was going out of business. I was just so nervous where on earth I was going to get wool and at a decent price. But it's not unusual. So, okay, I'm coming up here. So I'm just going to bring my wool, my splay over, and I'm going to overlap that one a little bit. And I'm just going to continue needle felting. And but the thing that happens with sheep's wool is sometimes as you're needle felting, it is not unusual if it's raw and just washed that you come across little pieces of hay. You come across little pieces of hay. So, or it could even be grain for that matter. So I'm trying to see here. Okay. Now, you're probably saying, well, Carmella, you can't needle felt through the thread. And you can't. But you can needle felt over the thread and in between your little stitches. And that will be just fine. That will be binding the wool, and it will be hiding the stitches if you want them hidden. If you don't want them hidden, you don't have to. So, and for those of you who haven't made any shapes with the wool, you just turn it, you just keep turning it, and you'll see fairly quickly that your little tiny little needle, which I use, this is all I use are my single needles. And people are like, well, Carmella, you can go way quicker with a 2-prong or 3 or 4-prong. And I've used those, and what those are is like, it has a handle like that, and kind of like you push down, and two of these needle felting needles will go into your work. They'll punch into your work or jab and hook the wool. It doesn't work for me at all, because I like to shape my own work freehand. So, okay, so this is coming along, and I'm just going to get this a little more hooked. I mean, look how fast that was hidden. I'm not feeling like, I feel like I might need one more little layer there. So what I'm going to do is, yeah, see, I'm needle felting right towards the edge of the elastic. Careful not to punch the elastic, because you don't want to ruin, you don't want to injure, damage the elastic. And now I want to get some color on this. So I will be playing around with my color. And for the background, yeah, I was using this light kind of brownish as kind of a little background first. So I'm just going to take the opportunity to put some of that through that, you see? It's going through, and it's splayed. So, I'm in my designing phase right now. I'm designing. And when you design, always, take your time. I do not do any designing by patterns at all. It's all creative, because first, it doesn't match my personality. I don't have the patience for the patterns. I just don't. Like for example, as you saw these eyeballs, I did one cylinder, and then I did another one with a really small pupil. So everyone will be a little different. And this one is, and the other reason is we don't have the same materials and supplies necessarily to keep using, because my whole goal is to create with eco-friendly, so you know, thrift shop materials, supplies, textiles, and or organic, like this, like the wool. So now I'm using this opportunity to kind of get my wool around my elastic. Now you notice here this kind of widened. It's because I didn't pull it up. I actually melded it down with the wool. I needle felted it down, but that's okay. That's perfectly okay. Now, the other thing about wool, you're needle felting it, right? Let's say you want to wet felt this. Let's say you want to agitate this. You want to put it in water. You want to get this wet, and you want to kind of go like that. So you could come out with a piece that's a little smaller, because what will happen is the fibers will hook even more into each other, and you'll have a very beautiful, beautiful felted piece. However, it will affect the size. So you just want to be careful with that, but that totally is something else that you can do. And like I said, I used to do wet felting, but I was doing like little rug pieces, you know, like about 4 by 4, like that. And the look at that, look at that. Is that just adorable? Okay, so now with the eyeballs, something I noticed, a lot of them have like the eyeball in the middle, and then they have kind of like, they always seem to have red around the eyeball. So I'm gonna leave, like, this is perfect, but if I hold this up, okay, and I've got this in place, this is done, this is in place. So now I can say, okay, where do I want the eyeball? When this person I sell this keychain to, where do I want the eyeballs? So I would say right here, right? I mean, that's perfect. Now, am I done needle felting up here? No, I am not. I'm still designing, and I want to say, I'm still designing and binding. That's a good way to say it. So anyway, I just made this a little circle. See, you see how easy it is to get your, now, something else I want to say to you, for those of you who are not familiar, this is actually called roving. This is roving. This is spun wool. This is spun. And this is raw wool. Raw. It's been washed. It has not been carded or combed like the roving. So the roving has gotten all the little chips and hay and stuff out, and to make it nice and smooth. It's pretty well seemingly splayed, but you still, in my opinion, want to take it and pull it all different directions and make it a little fluffier, that piece that you're going to work with, because that way it just hooks so much better. So much better. Okay, now this is my thought. I'm going to put red around there. Okay, I'm going to put the red, and then I feel like a kid right now. Then we're going to come back to the spun wool, and we're going to see if we can kind of have a little piece of it kind of just hanging out. Where should it be hanging? Like towards the back? Like kind of a vein popping out? Or should it be in the eye? What do you think? Let me know what you think while I'm needle felting the red part. The blood vessels around the eye. And yeah, so these I'm learning, these kind of like blood vessels, like you can pull the yarn kind of like this, like you can go off to the side a little bit. Let's see. Okay, I don't see where anybody said anything. Did you? No. Okay. I just want to make sure I don't miss your comments. If I get a comment, I don't want to miss it. Okay, so this is kind of the blood vessel-y eye. Now what I want to do, you see how easy that is? What I want to do is take a few more colors. I'm going to take this as a little bit lighter. I have that one in the back already. Here we go. Yeah. I'll take the darker piece again because I'm going to kind of splay it. I'm just kind of splay. I'm not trying to make anything really art, let's say, specific. I'm working from an abstract point of view. So now I'm putting a little bit of the yarn, you see, on top of the area that I'm binding, just a little bit, tiny bit. But I want to kind of spread it. I want to bring it out and about and over and kind of play around with it, making it a part of the piece. Because remember, we stitched in different areas all over this eyeball. We were bringing our stitches here and around. So we want to just make sure we go all the way around it and cover it up really nicely. And then we're designing it also. And there's, you know, like I said, you can do that completely with just more white wool or whatever the color of your eye or your deco ball is, and just kind of give it another couple of layers of whatever it is you want for your base. Let's say that for your base needle felting that you're going to design onto. Okay, I'm loving this right now. I mean, I just sat, you know, look, I just sit here and start. And this is how I got on TikTok today. I said, okay, I'm going to get everything in order that I want to do my projects. And then I'm going on TikTok. And I'm going to just share it with everybody because people are getting ready for Halloween already. And this is just the cutest. Now, tomorrow, I'm sitting down and I'm sewing yo-yos. And guess who I'm going to be sitting with? You guys. I'm going to be sitting on, I'm an eclectic artist, so I do many, many, many different things. And I have one more yo-yo quilt. I'll share with you the yo-yo quilt that's going to the art and craft show. And then I'll show you the yo-yos that I'm working on. And I'll share with you the way I put a yo-yo quilt together, which is super easy. Super. And I've shown it over on YouTube, and people love it. And it's not any special patterns. Again, it's just being just a couple very simple techniques. So look at this. Okay, now you see how how the wool is getting tighter. Okay, now if you look over here, I feel like, okay, that has got to be needle felted. So you just look at it, and if you see pieces sticking up, you just needle felt them in, get all of those in and around, get it nice and secure. And this stays. This is just, look, is that just adorable? Wait, look. Okay, now I'm going to add this, hi. I'm going to add the yarn. So I don't even know how I'm adding it. Look, there's a couple things you could do. You could tie it, you know, look, you could wrap it around. You could, I mean, it kind of makes it look a little weird. But I was thinking of, when I saw this, I was thinking of having, but it might hide the eye, of just a little piece kind of coming out. I think I'll have it come out of the side of the eye, and then just have like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So let's kind of cut it down here. That might be too long. Now this, because this is 100% wool, this should go in very beautifully. And we've got to do a little splay, and I'm going to use about the same color. So I took just a little splay, a little tiny bit of wool, and first I want to see something though. I just want to see how it catches. When you attach a piece of needle felted, whatever it is, to another piece of needle felted, whatever it is, you will use splay to attach those pieces. And you know, this I'm just testing, but look, I mean, look how, yeah, look, that's catching beautifully. But you want to do your splay, and that's just how you attach. Those are kind of, it kind of acts like stitches, added stitches. So I'm just putting a tiny bit over it, and I'm going to zigzag it. I'll put it here so you can see. Yeah. And I'm just zigzagging the tiny little web, and I'm going to show you up close in a second. And this is all super easy. Now, if you're just starting, in practice will get you to the point of it being easier. So you see the tiny little splay. It's all needle felted in. Now, oh look, it looks like it has pigtails. It's because I didn't attach them. I mean, that you could do that too. That's kind of cutesy, actually. So, yeah, that's, I didn't expect, see, this is how it happens. You just start doing something, and you think it's going to come out one way, and it comes out another. Now, that is the cutest darn scary little eye I ever did see, with little pigtails. I could almost leave it like that. But I think what I'm going to do is take that little creative incident that just happened, and I'm going to work on it, and I'm going to make some scary eyes with pigtails. Why don't you make some too? If you do, let me know. I'd love to see them. But these are things, if you go to your art and craft shows, these are things people are looking for. They're looking for something different. They're looking for something that is not a cookie cutter necessarily. Now, not to say patterns are bad, because they're not. Because after all, if patterns weren't there, right? There wasn't some base somewhere to start from. You know, we'd be reinventing the wheel over and over. So, now, so I'm gonna bring the yarn in the back, and I've got more splay. Now, I just took a little bit larger piece of splay, because the piece that I just put towards the back there is quite thick, and I want it to bind. I want it to hook. I want it to be needle felted in there beautifully. Now, as I'm needle felting, what's been happening with this deco ball is it is becoming more solid. And that's what you want. You want this more solid. You don't want it so it's squishy. Like, this is crocheted. This is crocheted, and it's squishy. And I'm actually going to be putting on these here. These are squishies. I mean, this is a keychain. It is a keychain. But inside of this is fill. That's fill, and it's a squishy. So it's kind of like a little stress pumpkin almost too, and a keychain. So, have you ever noticed when you're holding your keys that sometimes you're like shaking them, or you're nervous, or you're kind of like tapping them? So I was thinking that, I'm like, this is a great kind of a stress little, so that's what that is. But with these, you don't want the needle felted piece that you're making to be squishy, because that means air is getting into it, and it will just become more and more squishy, because in about 10 years this might get a little squishy. They're going to have to revamp it, because this is porous. Air is going to go through this no matter what we do, but we can get it as needle felted as much as possible, and then it just, the life of it is much longer. Now, I have a mouse that is I made about 20 years ago, and the mouse, I don't know where that is, on the other side of the room, but I have to revamp it. So maybe I'll do that with you too, but it took a lot of years, because I had needle felted it really well. And that's what you want to do. And does it take time? Yes, it does take a little time. And but anything handmade, if you're making an authentic piece, you're designing it and you're making it by hand, it's going to take a little time. It's a little different. Like, sometimes I get on the sewing machine, because I'm making, oh, look at this. I just have to stop for a minute. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? I'm not done needle felting, but we're close. We are close. What I'm going to do right above his eye, or yeah, his, the whole thing is an eye. I mean, above his eyeball. Okay. I gotta tell you, never thought I'd be making scary eyes, but I'm making them because one Halloween someone asked me to make something scary, like with crochet, and then now I'm realizing that people get a kick out of the scary stuff. So, and it's not like scary, but it's kind of a cutesy. But what I'm going to do, I kind of like the white there, to be honest. What about you? When you look at that, what do you see? Do you see yellow where the white is? Do you see purple? What do you see for color? Because sometimes your artistic eye will see, or it will say, hey, that's done. You're not going to add any more there. So now I'm checking for, see in the back here too, I want to kind of get that covered a little. I want to put some red splay there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a little more. This is the red roving. It's interesting. This has a little sparkle of something in it. And I'm just going to put it over that. And I'm going to kind of make it come out over the vein. I'm like so excited about this right now. I am so excited about this because I'm just realizing something. You see, this yarn, when I make more eyeballs, I am really going to get into thinking about those being the vessels, and kind of splay those around, and kind of, you see those, you can kind of see it like as really gory eye. Oh my God. So first I went from pigtails. First I was seeing pigtails with the yarn pieces, and now I'm seeing veins popping out of the eye. You can see why people have fun with this, right? So, yeah, so if you're getting ready for some art and craft fairs, and you have questions for me on my channel, feel free to ask me, and I'm happy to do videos to answer. I'm happy to just write you an answer, because I have many. I have a half a century easy of going to art and craft shows, because I used to go with my mom as a kid, and I've seen how they've changed. And you know, you have to get to know your audience, your target audience. And I'm going to be honest with you, for me, this is just what happens. I just go with my creativity. I go with what I think, like, this is just adorable. I go with what I think I want. And I make a prototype. And then from there, if I really like the prototype and I use it and I think it's good, and I think, you know, I'm like, if I'm intrigued and I show it to people and they like it, then I start to really think about, okay, well, maybe I can create more of these in different ways. Now, I want to show you something else. We're not going to do this in this video, but I'm going to prep for another video to do, because I really want to show this to you. So, you know, I think, honestly, none of you kind of answer me or have a preference on what's going on around the eyeball. But, so, I think this is good. Now, you gotta know, get to know your wool, because I want to point something out to you here. Sometimes wool will lift. And I was showing you on another video I did on TikTok. This is a soft, kind of straight wool. It's fine and it's gorgeous, and it lifts, so you get a little fuzzy from it. This does not lift, but you get the rivets and the divots from that. So when you're working with your wool, yeah, see, this is it right here. You see it lifting. You can see the fuzzy wuzzy around it. That's part of the aesthetic. Now, if you're selling, you may want to tell them. And I always say this, unless you are specifically following directions and creating a toy, this is not a toy. And you want to put it on, just do that one little sentence, this is not a toy. And the reason is, you don't want, like, people thinking it's okay to hand it to tiny little fingers, because that wool, it can catch around a tiny little finger. So, but you know, I always say that because I always put that on my tags. So, but there are people out there who do specifically make for an age group. So you want to follow the directions, whatever they're doing. But these are keychains, and so they're really cutesy. Anyway, with that, there was something else I wanted to show you. Oh yes, I was going to show you with this one. I wanted to show you what I was talking about with the ribbon. So let's say you do want to put your keychain on like that. So what you want to do, the very first thing you want to do is just get an area here where you're going to go through. Try to get centered. It's sometimes difficult. Everything is felted now. So you're going to pull that through, and then you can see it on this end, and you're going to kind of try to kind of just go back and forth there on it. And now, felting was originally done by wet felting, and it's an ancient method of creating fabric. And they would get it wet by putting it in the, like a brook or stream. And they didn't do the hot and colds like they do today. So this should be long enough. And this needle is just a tad smaller. Now what I'm going to do, you're going to see how difficult this is. I'm just going to bring that a teeny tiny bit, not a lot. Just enough I want to get this through. So, where was it? I think it's right here. I'm not sure. I may have lost it. This does seal up on its own. It has a memory, like, now look, I'm trying to pull it through. It's very difficult to get that through. So I'm leaving my needle in there, and I'm just gonna kind of go down with the second needle blunt. It's got a blunt. I'm not really centered, but that's okay. I just want to show you how difficult it is, but it can be done. So now I've just made it a tiny bit wider. And starting to come down through. Yeah. But you can see, you know what too, what this tells you also is when you tie it on the other hand, it's not going to really come out after you needle felt it and seal it all back together again. So, well, we're almost there. See, we're almost, I've got the eye of the needle there, and I'm just pulling there. So, that's how difficult it is to get it through, but you can. And this is about 1/2 inch wide. So then you just tie. I'm not going to leave this in there because this is going to be a little bit bigger. It's going to be another eye, and there's so many other things that you can make with just a deco ball. Okay, now I got something in front of me obscuring my vision, probably because I'm on here for an hour. So I'm going to try to get you back. If I can't, I will be saying goodbye on this particular one. And I'm happy that you were with me. I hope that this gave you some really good ideas. And with that, you have a beautiful day.